time is 10:30, and it's time for our conversation with my guest tonight. Mari Mennel Bell is in the Igloo, and we're going to talk about JazzSLAM. But before we get into the conversation, let's hear the JazzSLAM theme.
JazzSLAM, are you looking for some glory? JazzSLAM, then learn to write the story. JazzSLAM, write it from your heart. First you have to understand the form. JazzSLAM, the form is the way. JazzSLAM, to organize what you say. JazzSLAM, and more stories and the things you do. Help you say just what you do. If your mind is in a flow, your thinking all a little. Let's spend that hour with us. If confusion is an issue, you can cry to your tissue. The teacher will continue to bust. JazzSLAM, watch everyone's reaction. JazzSLAM, when you rattle off all your fractions. JazzSLAM, the lyrics and the rhythms can help you with your writing and your math. Help you with your writing and your math.
All right. Welcome, Mari.
Thank you, Tracy.
All right. I'm going to ask you first. No, this is the first question always. Tell us what we were just listening to.
Oh, that's the JazzSLAM theme song, and that was Bob Hanni that was singing it, Don Mosley on bass, Orlando Machado on drums, and me on keys. And I wrote it just really quickly because I felt like we needed to have a theme song to introduce the students to what they were going to be doing for the hour that they spend with us.
I managed to get as far as telling our friends out in Radio Land that JazzSLAM stands for Jazz Supports Language Arts and Math. You know, I would probably have been much smarter if there'd been a JazzSLAM program in the schools when I was growing up, but I'll do the best I can now. Please tell us about JazzSLAM.
Well, I can't say that I think people would be smarter from it.
Oh, yeah, they well, you know, I came that one time, and I saw those kids. They were smarter when they left than when they walked in. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're so kind. I think the thing of it is, everything that we're talking about is material that teachers are presenting in their classrooms. But because we're engaging the students through the music, it sticks in a different way. They pay attention. Students that may have been kind of turned off to learning will take a second look and listen in a different way. So I guess that's the reason the name, the acronym, is Jazz Supports Language Arts and Math. It's not like we're teaching new concepts and that's why if it's third graders, I get a little nervous because sometimes they haven't been exposed to some of the concepts that we're teaching, like fractions. And then something in me, the teacher in me, comes out and I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible. I've got to get them up to level here, but that's not the purpose. And we have so little time with them that every minute counts.
The program runs an hour, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think the interesting thing is that the biggest challenge is students are very used to being well-behaved or being outside taking a break. But what we're doing is switching between very academic skills into really having a pretty hysterical time with them.
Indeed.
And then they have to calm down, and they're not used to that. So that really becomes a little bit of a challenge. We have a techie also that's part of the program who is a wonderful volunteer named Lois St. Serene, and she came through Pam Dearden, who's the director of Gold Coast Jazz Society. And we do 25 in-school presentations in Broward County through Gold Coast Jazz Society. So Lois she's often at the presentations. She's done just huge amount to help with all all the teachers have to do evaluations of the program. And often the students will be really excited and they'll want to write little essays about the program. Mm-hmm. So Lois has to get that all into a spreadsheet form that can go to the grant makers. And also we do demographics, so all of that has to be taken care of too.
And you've been doing this for 12 years now.
14.
Oh,
this is
excuse me.
14.
See, I knew I needed JazzSLAM. Supporting math, that's what I needed. All right, let's go back to the beginning. How on earth did this start? Where did this come from, Mari Mennel Bell?
I guess it started probably at least 30 years ago. In fact, I like to think about sharing that with people because sometimes goals that you have can take decades before they really come into being. And I think that it's important not to get discouraged, to sort of keep them in the back of your mind. Years ago, I taught at Manna House, which was a music school in East Harlem. Gloria Dennard is still running it. Her son, Kenwood Dennard, is world-class.
Kenwood Woody Dennard.
Yeah, yeah. We had a great thing where he came down to, he was on a South Florida jazz concert, and I went up to talk to him afterwards and said, I worked for your mom decades and decades ago, and it was just such a magical moment. So anyway, after that, I had gotten a dual master's at NYU in music and in education. And
Let me stop you for a minute. A dual master's in music and education. You know,
Yeah.
Hendrik Merkins was up here last week, and of course he doubles on the vibraphone and harmonica. A dual master's in music and education, how did that happen?
Just by taking the right courses, I guess. I think it was a little bit longer to. I was at NYU, by the way. So after, and part of that, I did an internship at the Children's Television Workshop for the electric company.
I'm going to back you up again, though. We're going to come back to the electric company. I'm trying to figure out how you chose music and education. Was that accidental, or did you choose the two subjects?
I had majored in music, my undergraduate degree, but there wasn't really much jazz that was happening yet. It was more like classical and analytical. I'm a pretty analytical person, so it was probably a good fit. There were amazing people at NYU then, Benjamin Boritz and Morton Subotnick, who was doing electronic music. It was an interesting time.
So you ended up with a double major or a double master in music and education.
Yes.
Did somebody tell you that you needed to learn to teach so you could always feed yourself?
I think that was probably in there somewhere. Yeah. And some of the classes were really interesting. There was a woman, Mary Helen Richards, who taught the Kodai method, which I still kind of use with students in JazzSLAM, which is hand signals for the scale.
Yes.
And it's helpful because one thing about JazzSLAM, it's very interdisciplinary, and it's very, learning from different modalities. Very visual, very oral, very tactile. We're engaging people in all different ways.
Yeah, kids don't have to just sit there, and behave politely through the entire thing.
No.
And I will confess that I got up and moved around too.
Oh yeah, we got to do in the Charleston, as I remember.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had tried to forget about that, but
you're not the only one. We got Superintendent Runcie doing the Charleston too.
I would have
one
paid
time.
money to see that. Mr. Runcie is so dignified. Pardon me, Dr. Runcie. Such a dignified man. My guest tonight on Evening Jazz is Mari Mennel Bell, and she is the originator and guiding force behind JazzSLAM. That stands for Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math. And let's see, we left NYU, and you were at the Children's Television Workshop.
Yes, and that I was working for the electric company. Again, it was very much about using music to teach reading. Then I got this job in a Title I program that was up in the South Bronx, and it was teaching, again, music being used to teach really kids that were really far behind, to teach them reading. And I had this aha moment there. The children were not very disciplined in that school. It was pretty wild, and it was an older woman who was a music teacher. And she lost control over the class a lot. Somehow there was a popular tune out back in that day that was a Michael Jackson tune called Ben. And it was about a kid whose best friend was a rat.
Comes from a movie by that name.
Yes. And for me, it was like an aha moment because these students went from absolutely like up on the ceiling and crawling the walls to dead silent. It was like a religious experience for them listening to that song. And that was really, I think, the first time that I saw the power of music. And also, when I looked at the song, I saw, gee, there's so much that could be taught from this song because it's a narrative essay. That's what it is. It's an AABA song form. So that was probably the first thing that kind of got me thinking about it. Then I sort of went my way and I did a lot of other things. Then I have 3 children of my own. And when they were in school, the younger grades were really fun. They really enjoyed that. But come like getting finished with 3rd grade, and my 2 boys in particular just were chafing at the bit having to sit at a desk and do just, work sitting at a desk. And it started to come back to me that really there had to be a better way to engage students. And that's when I really started coming up with JazzSLAM.
And before we hear some actual students doing some actual jazz slamming, as it were, I wanted to ask you how jazz got to be part of this picture. The last piece of music I heard about was Michael Jackson's Ben. And this being evening jazz, I'm real curious about where jazz comes in.
My love of jazz.
And where did that come from?
Oh, gosh. I think that goes back to my parents, my grandparents, my aunt who played, who actually was purported to have taken some lessons in Toledo from, I'm spacing out, the great, great, great pianist with a million licks.
I was about to say, it's going around. Let's see, we could just start running through piano players. Thank you.
Art Tatum. And everybody was dancing. All my parents' friends danced. It was dance music back in that time. And I remember there was an ice cream parlor that had all rock and roll, and it had one tune it had, In the Mood. And I was like the only kid. I would go in there and constantly repress that button for In the Mood. And I was really young, like 6 or 7, and people were like scratching their heads, why does this child like this? And I would love the fact that it would stop and then it would start up again. I thought that was just the coolest.
Tell us, please, what we're about to listen to now. Speaking of rock and roll, I've got Hound Dog for you here, I think.
Well, we we use blues tunes to talk about the 12-bar blues being very similar to a read, think, and explain question, where you have a prompt, and then you repeat the prompt. The student repeats the prompt. So if it was, why did Johnny go swimming? That's the prompt. And then you repeat it and you say it as a statement. Johnny went swimming because, and then the third part of the blues statement is the reason why. So this is part of actually the e-learning project that's now a part of JazzSLAM. What happened was, along the way, I became very close with the students at Dillard High School, thanks to Chris Dorsey, who I actually met up in New York at a Jazz at Lincoln Center workshop for band directors that I probably shouldn't have even been at, but wonderful Reggie Thomas, who is now becoming the director of Northern Illinois University. I heard him at an IAJE conference and said, I want to study with you. And he said, well, I'm working with 12-year-olds in Wisconsin, and I'm going to be doing this band director camp. I said, but I'm not a band director, and I'm certainly not 12 years old. He said, just come to the band director, call him up and say, that I said. So Chris was there, so I had to go to New York to meet the famed, wonderful Chris Dorsey, who runs the Dillard High School jazz band program. I have to divert here and say that I have since run into some other students. Old Dillard Museum. Do you know Derek Davis?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's just wonderful. And
But I
Ernestine
know they're
Ray.
doing some wonderful things at the Old Dillard Museum.
Yes.
They tell me about them with some regularity, yeah.
Ernestine Ray was before him, and she was fabulous too. But I think it was Derek that had a jazz program going on there. And he mentioned that there was going to be a gospel Sunday. So I wrote it down, and I went to this event, and I was the only white person there. And it was like so perfect because afterwards, it's like so interesting to me. The spirituality of the music and the congregation. People came up and greeted me and made me feel so wonderful. And I started talking to the guy that was playing piano there, a young man named James Murphy, nicknamed Bowie. And of course, as we got talking, darned if he wasn't one of Chris's students down here in Miami. So it's like Chris is like ever present with so many people. And anyway, so Chris approved, and Mrs. Cassandra Robinson, who's head of Dillard, she's the principal, and Israel Charles, who is now their performing arts director, to do this JazzSLAM e-learning project there with the students from Dillard participating, along with the JazzSLAM band. So we went in, did it all one afternoon. I was sick as a dog. I don't know what that expression means, but...
I think we get the picture, though.
Yes. I had like a raging fever. It was the only afternoon ever that all the players were going to be there, and we had to do it. And Bongiovi Entertainment volunteered to do the whole thing, along with Israel Charles volunteering to be there to do the sound at Dillard. And they have a great facility there. So anyway, it happened, and through a guy named Mike Hoffman at Bongiovi, he did a fabulous job of editing it all, and we have an e-learning project.
Yeah, we've got video here that you can't see because this radio isn't quite that advanced yet, but tell me, how does the e-learning thing actually work for students out in the world?
We did a pilot, which I think maybe the superintendent put in a word for me with that, and a wonderful young woman, Melissa Fulkerson, helped with it. Dr. Phyllis Schiffler-Simon is in charge at Beacon TV, and she approved it. We met with her. I met with her, and we went ahead, and it turned out that we only got 1/3 of the way through the hour presentation because they like to leave time for asking questions and for whatever reasons. So I was worried, but we got finished, and they said, you know what, we'll break it into 3 segments and do it again next year that way. So my husband, who's a bit of a techie, was working on it this weekend with me, and we've got it in the 3 segments, and I look forward to doing that. I'm hoping to persuade our Board of Ed to let it happen with students outside of Broward County so that we are able to reach students anywhere that have distance learning in their school.
How would that work? Pardon me for being back in the 20th century, but please explain it to me, how the students elsewhere, as friends in New York, listen up. E-learning, JazzSLAM is coming to you, but please tell me how it works.
Well, it's through video conferencing equipment, and I wouldn't even purport to tell you
it's magic.
Exactly, what technology people have to have, but they have a wonderful guy there, Maurice Rancourt, who knows all about that stuff. But if anybody is interested in that, they should go to my JazzSLAM Facebook page and send me a message.
So you do your thing here in South Florida, and students in Nome, Alaska are, through the magic of video conferencing, able to have the JazzSLAM experience. That's how that goes?
Fingers crossed. It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it'll
but
be fine.
That's the goal. That's the, yeah.
All right, tell
The
us about
dream.
this Hound Dog.
Well, this particular tune, as I started to say before about the blues, it's not the most, well, maybe the best version of the blues. We do also do a cleaned up version of Kansas City that I changed.
Yes, you
I
do.
take some liberties.
I remember wondering, oh, this is going to be fun for the kids.
I rewrote the lyrics on a
Yeah.
lot of that. But then we also do Hound Dog because I love to give credit to the African-American woman who first sang it and probably wrote it, and also say that Elvis heard it and he recorded it, but kids love it. And if we have time and things have gone okay with the math section, which sometimes we get a little slowed down, that's a time when we let all the students get up and dance. And one time we had a whole group of autistic kids get up, and it was magic. There was magic in the air. And the thing that I love most about JazzSLAM is that we're out to show everybody that everybody is accepted. And oftentimes, students that will get up and do things are students that might even be bullied in the school, but they get up, and sometimes they'll do these just amazing dance moves, and everybody in the 4th and 5th grade is like shocked. So, and lots of times I'll hear from teachers that very shy students get involved and that they were very surprised at that.
So who's playing Hound Dog here?
Ulysses McClover is singing it, and this was so improvisational when we did this project, because I think it was Taylor who mentioned, Taylor Young, who's on trombone, young woman friend of mine at Dillard, and she said, Ulysses sings, and I was like, really? Okay, so he sang a couple notes. I said, that's it. You're singing this. So I handed him the music. And these kids are just amazing. I have to say, I see, through having been to essentially Ellington for 3 years with Dillard, thanks to Chris Dorsey, they're like little ducklings taking to water. They just get it. It's amazing. So, I just hand them the music and they go, okay, we'll do this. And then there's another tune I think you'll hear with them on it of Under the Sea. And they just made up these horn lines for it right on the spot, So we have amazing kids down here in South Florida. And I know there's a lot in Miami, too. With
yes.
New World and the program at the community
at the church. Yes.
Yep.
The Coral Gables Congregational. Let's see, the Coral Gables Congregational United Church of Christ Community Arts Program. I practiced that because, during their summer concert series, it's important for me to be able to say that. But let's listen to Hound Dog. Or let's try to listen to Hound Dog. Let's see how the technology works tonight. Please, Hound Dog? Okay.
You and I'm but a hound dog, crying all the time. You and I'm but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. When they said you was hard class, that was just a lie. Said you was hard class, well that was just a lie. You ain't never
Again, Mari Mennel Bell of JazzSLAM, as in Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math, is with me tonight on Miami Monday and beyond, because primarily the program is working in Broward County right now, but Mari hopes to take over the world with it one day. And you're listening to Evening Jazz, Miami Monday, on 91.3 WLRN and HD1 Miami, Fort Lauderdale, the Palm Beaches, 91.5 WKWM and HD1 Marathon, Key West. So, students, I'm sorry, like I said, that that we don't have video radio happening here. We have experimented with that, but at any rate, is that video available on your Facebook page, Mari? Would it be possible for people to see it?
It is not. That's an interesting idea to put some of it up.
Yeah.
I'll have to ponder that one.
Okay. Now that I've put you on the spot there, let's see. You were going to tell me a little bit more. We've talked a little bit about how it happens, but now you were going to explain to us exactly what you guys do, what you teach, and what the kids are subject to learn.
Okay. I thought maybe I'd read what's on the flyer that the 300 students, the 300 teachers in Broward County will get, thanks to not only do we have a spectacular superintendent of schools, but we have a wonderful performing arts coordinator, which is Joe Lukauer. He used to be just music, and now he's all the performing arts. So he gives this out on Wednesday to all of the teachers in their packet. They have a big conference that happens. And it basically says JazzSLAM supports teachers' efforts to raise students' standardized test scores by teaching academics through the oral, visual, and tactile (parentheses, multiple intelligence) benefits of music. And then it talks about that students participate in a rhythm orchestra. They come to new understandings of fractions and percentages through subdivisions of a whole note as they clap, stomp, sing, and dance. And this is an interesting point that I like to make, too, to our live intergenerational multicultural jazz quartet. I have always felt it's really important that the quartet that I take into the schools shows that we are a family. I mean, and that really came home to me. I don't think I'll say which elementary school, but in one of the teacher evaluations years ago, I was kind of shocked to get this, but a teacher wrote in, "You have no idea the effect that this has had on the teachers, because when you got us all up doing the Charleston, we don't really socialize. We kind of stick to the black teachers are friends with each other and the white teachers are friends with each other."
Just like in the lunchroom.
Really? Oh, my goodness. So that was another one of those aha moments that it's important for students to see all ages, men, women, different. Orlando's Hispanic, so that comes in there too. Don's African American. We have a new person who's just joined as our guitarist vocalist named Bill Coleman, who's African American, and he's going to be coming down from Palm Beach County, which I feel so blessed that he wants to do this with us. And I think he's just going to do a wonderful job of replacing Bob Hanni. So that's kind of that.
Did we finish talking about, let's see, stomping and clapping and rhythmic divisions? I was thinking about the pizza pie and the math segment there, and you talked a little bit about the AABA song form, helping with the essay questions.
Yes.
Okay.
We start out the presentation with the night in Tunisia, and we could even play that. It would probably, it's a little bit longer. And the students come into a night in Tunisia, and we get them clapping on the backbeat for that. Then, after they've heard that and they've heard the theme song, then I cut back to the lyrics to A Night in Tunisia, and I'd say, let's pretend this is an essay question that you have to read on a standardized test. And they ask you, on what continent is Tunisia located? And if you're anything like my kids were, or when I had to take tests and you don't know the answer, you start doing negative thinking. You start saying, oh, I don't want to be here. I wonder what my little brother's doing, stuff like that. And we're saying throw that out the window and put on your detective cap, because every question that you get asked on a test has clues in it. And there are clues in the lyrics of this song that can help you figure out how to answer that multiple choice question. So that's how we started up. We do a lot of Q&A. Like, I have a cordless mic that I take out and talk to the students with. And even with the e-learning pilot, we were able to do that very effectively. I could ask the questions back and forth to the students.
What ages do you visit with JazzSLAM?
Oh, I am glad you asked that, because I have often gotten asked to go back into the middle schools, and we did do for teachers at Boyd Anderson. We did, Bob and I did a workshop about using JazzSLAM concepts, but really the perfect age is 4th and 5th grade, because, and I think by 4th and 5th grade, you know, there's that book that came out years ago, Everything You Need to Know You Learned in Kindergarten. I would say everything you need to know you've learned by 5th grade, and then people are just backing up and trying to get students who have lost interest involved. That's just kind of my own theory. 3rd grade is a little bit too young, as I said, because they haven't had fractions and they may not have been exposed to all the essays that we talk about. But 4th and 5th is perfect, because you can really get them engaged. They look around at first and they say, oh, I don't want to look like an idiot with my friends. And then they just sort of throw reason to the wind and just get totally involved.
Music has that effect on people.
Yes, but not middle school students. That was my experience. They do not want to look like fools in front of their friends. So that's why we kind of got into 4th and 5th.
I remember that only too well, as old as I am. Yes.
I thought, just having said that, I thought I'd maybe read a couple of last year's student comments.
Okay. And then we'll listen to Night in Tunisia?
Okay, that sounds good. This was a student at Morrow Elementary. I cannot forget the jazzy beat of JazzSLAM. Fills me with an extravaganza of joy. Their music makes me feel as calming as a rainbow. And then a student at Driftwood. That phenomenal music you play blew my ears and made my mouth longer than a rainbow. Test tips earned me an 83% on my last test.
Wow.
Also, that rhythm was my groove. At night I hear jazz so I can sleep like a kitty cat. And then, let's see... I'll take a look for some more.
All right, while we listen to Night in Tunisia.
Sounds good.
There's a rainbow above you, aglow with its cool evening light. But shining tonight in Tunisia, and never does it shine so bright. The stars are aglow in the heavens, but only the wise understand that shining tonight in Tunisia, they guide you through the desert sand. Words fail to tell a tale too exotic to be told. Each night's a deeper night in a world ages old. The cares of the day seem to vanish. The ending of day brings release. Each wonderful night in Tunisia, where their nights are filled with peace.
kids are amazing. Night in Tunisia. That's part of the e-learning package from JazzSLAM. Did I get that right, Mari?
You did.
Okay, my guest tonight is Mari Mennel Bell, the guiding force behind JazzSLAM. That stands for Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math. It is getting to be that time of year again, so yeah, this is the Evening Jazz Miami Monday Back to School special. But let's see, I think you were going to find us some more words, perhaps from students, about how JazzSLAM worked for them?
Yeah, and also I just wanted to share that teachers in Broward County, 4th and 5th grade teachers, if you could contact me by the end of this week and let me know that you're interested in having JazzSLAM. If you go to the JazzSLAM website, you can just click on the link and send me an email, or please go to Facebook and like the Facebook page, and you can send me a message that way also. We book it. I like to get it booked as soon as possible for any time. You can pick any date in the year. So that's important. And we're also, thanks to Pam Dearden at Gold Coast Jazz Society, part of the SEAS program again. So 10 of the presentations can get booked. Will be in that book that goes out to all the schools to pick what projects they want, so they can pick us that way also.
And for people who are not involved with the schools, how can we help? How can we get involved with JazzSLAM?
You know, I have been asked that question, and I'm not really sure, other than with the e-learning. If you know teachers, 4th, 5th grade teachers in other areas of the country, or supervisors or principals or whatever,
as a matter of fact,
send
I've got
them
friends
my
in
way.
Tunisia. They might actually want to.
Ooh, that would be really exciting.
We've got friends in Japan. We've got friends all over the place. So,
awesome.
4th and 5th grade teachers, wherever you might be on the face of this planet, Mari Mennel Bell's got something for you.
Also, I wanted to point out that we are teaching geography and history as seen through the history of jazz, which I think is really an important story, that it's not told that way in the history books. Mm-hmm. And it's really important. And we definitely go back. I do a rhythm lamba, which is from Guinea, to talk about how they can hear a difference between swing and straight eighth notes, and they get to do that themselves. And have that experience. And then we talk about how those rhythms came over at the sad part of our history being slavery, but the silver lining of that being that these incredible polyrhythms came over from Africa to the United States.
Yes, I remember the time that I came to the presentation. You asked around about how many of the students' families or how many of the students had come from other countries. Yeah. In keeping with, as you mentioned earlier, your emphasis on reminding everybody that we are one human family.
Yes, we talk lots about migration. In fact, we ask students to raise their hands and say, and sometimes I'll go around and let them say what country they're from. I encourage them to go back into their classrooms and with pride talk about that. Lots of students aren't sharing that kind of thing. They're not having that kind of conversations together. Go home, interview a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle. Bring in an essay that you write about how they came to the United States, or just interview them. So it's about getting students excited about learning and tying it into their own personal life in a different way.
And speaking of geography, I asked you while we were listening to it how you happened to choose Night in Tunisia. I like that song, and I was thinking, well, it's one of those songs everybody loves. But there's actually more to it than that. Would you please tell my friends how you chose Night in Tunisia to begin with?
Well, I thought Tunisia's a place that most students wouldn't know where it was, but there are clues in the lyrics, as I said before, that we could sort of pull out of the lyrics for them to be able to see. It empowers them to see that they can figure out answers to things that they don't even know about. If they just can calm themselves down, take a deep breath and use that detective cap. Put it on.
Yeah, so you've got your detective cap on, and as I recall, the question was, on what continent is Tunisia found on?
Yes.
Okay, and the clues were?
Desert sand. Mm-hmm. And students get to that very quickly, actually. And then we talk about, I talk about that students need to have an inner dialogue where they're asking themselves other questions to get to the right answer, like where they go, okay, desert sand, is a desert hot? And if a desert is hot, what continents are hot? And then they may need to ask themselves, what is a continent? And I'll often ask students, and somebody will raise their hand and, they usually do a great job. There's always somebody in the audience that knows the answer to something. And if they don't know the answer, lots of times that's a good teaching tool too. Like sometimes they'll answer something incorrectly because they didn't listen to the question. And I'm always excited when that happens because I get to say to them, in fact, in the math part, when I'm asking about fractions like what fraction is a quarter note, and they'll give me the percentage. They'll say 25%, and I'll go, I can tell you are really smart, but it's perfect that you answered that because this is a great learning experience for you. You jumped ahead. That's not the question, so you wouldn't get any credit for what you answered. So
let's see, I'm trying to remember how you taught the math segment. I was thinking about the pizza pie, and as we always do, but I'm trying to remember what you did musically for the math section.
Well, we do a rhythm orchestra,
yeah,
which divides the whole room into different note values. And actually, Susan Merritt up at JAMS gave me the idea of have student leaders. In the course of the 14 years, so many people have given feedback, that has been very helpful that I've incorporated. So we get two students up, and lots of times it's students that are very shy or are having, issues where they're bullied or whatever, and they're the ones that get up there and they become the leaders. So we have a whole note, and the students have to be listening to all the note values happening at the same time, the 16th notes, which we call the little chipmunk 16th notes, and how that fits into the whole note pattern, the half notes, etc. And then I do a rhythm that we analyze, and then just for fun, Orlando, this is the student's favorite part. He does like a call and response, and he has a wonderful sense of humor that he can get very wacky with the students too, where he'll go, no, I'm doing that one again, and they have to clap it, and he does very crazy rhythms too. So they love that. They love the drums. Students love the drums.
Always. I keep telling y'all this is music by and for smart people, okay? And we're bringing the smart people along at younger and younger, perhaps, ages, or using this music by and for smart people to make smarter people.
Ooh.
Mari Mennel Bell is my guest tonight on the back-to-school edition of Evening Jazz Miami Monday. Mari is the guiding spirit behind JazzSLAM, or Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math, and the JazzSLAM crew is standing at the ready. Broward County teachers, 4th and 5th grade. She and the crew will be happy to come out and visit with your students during the course of the year. She hopes that you will book now because, as I said, Christmas is coming. I don't think that makes much difference, but there are a set number of dates for JazzSLAM available in Broward County for personal appearances by Mari and the crew, but there's also the e-learning capability, which would make JazzSLAM available to students everywhere.
Yes.
But
would you like to hear a couple more comments?
Sure. Our
techie Lois has not gotten these up on the JazzSLAM website. This is this year, so it's hot off the press. After the presentation, we discussed different aspects of jazz. This resulted in students going online and researching the history of jazz. I'm so glad I thought of this, too. A goal is to make these students a discriminating audience for music, so that they are not just going to accept junk that is getting served to them and where they can go. Wait, is there a logic to this? Does it have a form? What's the message? Does it have anything that's rhyming? Are there any rhyme patterns going on?
Is there a reason to this at all?
So, and another teacher, this is from Driftwood, again, they made connections with music to experiences in their own life. The show left them with very positive attitudes. We were singing and tapping all day. And then somebody said, great way to help students connect to the real world, application of knowledge and skills mastered in school. Delightful and upbeat. We're definitely upbeat. We're a little wacky, in fact.
And how do people get in touch with you again, Mari?
The Facebook JazzSLAM page would be a great way, or jazzslam.com. There's a link that you can click on to send me an email.
Yeah, there's a link on the real Tracy Fields page for the jazzslam.com site.
Oh,
so
you rock.
We do what we can. We do what we can. We want people to be able to take advantage of this wonderful program that you have developed to make smarter kids.
Oh, thanks. And here's another one that I like that was just, we appreciate how you took the time to educate new things. For example, migrate means to move from another certain location. Just like my friend, this is from a student, just like my friend Amy said, her grandmother moved from Cuba to the U.S. And just comparing the music to essays. And we don't just do narrative essays. I had to kind of stretch, and we do a Latin tune. It is not in the normal Latin repertoire, but it is very much a Latin tune with very much a clave beat. So, and it's one that students know. It's from The Little Mermaid, Under the Sea.
Oh, shall we play that one?
Sure,
Let's
why
do
not?
that. Okay, Under the Sea.
Again, this is the e-learning. This is one with the students in it.
Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore, they work all day. Out in the sun, they slave away. While we're devoting full time to floating under the sea. The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. You dream about going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you, right here on the ocean floor. Such wonderful things around you. What more is you looking for? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore, they work all day. Out in the sun, they slave away. While we're devoting full time to floating under the sea. Down here, all the fish is happy as after the waves they roll. The fish on the land ain't happy, they sad 'cause they in a bowl. But fish in the bowl is lucky, they in for a worser fate. One day when the boss gets hungry, guess who's gonna be on that plate? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore, they work all day. Out in the sun, they slave away. While we're devoting full time to floating under the sea. While we're devoting full time to floating under the sea.
the e-learning aspect, if you will, of JazzSLAM. Again, Mari Mennel Bell is visiting me here in the Igloo. And Mari, you were going to explain the true significance of Under the Sea.
It is a persuasive essay. And I go through a lot of conversation with the students about who's trying to persuade who to do what, and what are the reasons that whoever's trying to persuade who to do what is offering. And I talk also with narrative essays about how fairy tales are wonderful examples of very dramatic stories, and to just be very dramatic with your narrative essays. When you think about like Hansel and Gretel and how people get eaten and stuffed in ovens and all sorts of stuff. I can't believe we tell our little kids.
I was about to say, it's a wonder any of us grow up at all sane.
I know. But then also when you get to Under the Sea, it's kind of the same thing. Sebastian's, it's a persuasive essay. It's a different form, but he's trying to persuade Ariel to stay under.
Who's going to end up on the plate? Oh,
yes. He's going to pick you out of the bowl. If you're stuck, you're going to be not only in a bowl, but you're going to be, you could get picked out and fried up. And I should tell you, by the way, that I am allowed to use these tunes because it is educational. And I have, clearance for only that reason and only that purpose. I do not distribute the tunes. I don't distribute the lyrics to teachers even.
So, lawyers, please have a seat. But let's see, we also wanted to go over the whole thing once again. School starts next week, as I think we're all aware. I still can't get over that. I've managed so far to get through this entire evening without saying where did the summer go. But, we know where it went, and we know that school opens. You told me that the teachers were back today, and I'm hoping that this will be something for students and teachers to look forward to. It's called JazzSLAM, or Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math. Mari Mennel Bell has been my guest tonight, and she is, as I said, the guiding spirit behind the program, which does what?
Teaches academic skills through jazz.
Through jazz. And how do we do that?
Well, we can teach math. We can teach language arts through form, math through, obviously, the math of whole notes and how they subdivide. We don't even get into the polyrhythms. I mean, it's endless. And history, through the history of how the music got to this country. Geography, certainly how people got to this country. Migration. And another thing that's really important, too, I always say to students, people didn't just come like the slave ships that came from the coast of West Africa didn't just come to the United States. They went to the islands and to South America. And then a whole new wave of people migrated up and brought that very pure clave that we just heard in Under the Sea back up to the United States. So
it's endless.
It is endless. It's exciting.
Yeah,
and
it
kids
is.
Get so excited about it. They really do come out of it uplifted.
Yeah, I think anything that might make it easier for a kid to take a standardized test, without quite the fear and angst that is associated with them, I can vote for that.
Yep. I have a quote, and I don't even know who to give credit to, but I just think it's an important one. It is, the woods would be very silent if no birds sang, but those that sang the best.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's important in JazzSLAM, that kids that are handicapped, we have students that come in. One school we did once had a whole group of deaf students who I was shocked at just how enthusiastic the teachers were about how they responded just to the vibrations and the rhythms. Yeah. So I like to feel that JazzSLAM is super, super inclusive. Sometimes I feel like jazz is not that way. It gets kind of into, who's best, and there aren't a lot of jobs out there, and everybody's competing for sort of a market that's going down, which, by the way, brings me to that I did want to say that I would love to get together a group, too, to try and see if we can get more gigs happening. I spoke to one of the city commissioner's assistants today, and who steered me to the Hollywood people, because they're doing a lot more music, like on the streets. And I have been blessed to spend quite a bit of time in New Orleans. And I have to give a plug for the New Orleans Traditional Jazz Camp, which fills up like it's just over and it's almost full for next year. But you want to go to it, and people are coming from all over the world. I've been blessed to do it and meet amazing people through it. So I lost my train of thought with
Mari
going
Mennel
off on
Bell,
that.
at your service.
Oh, and one other thing I did want to mention was Delu, the women's African drumming and dance group, who I'm very close friends. When I first moved to South Florida, I did a lot of drumming, and they're about to do their big weekend at the Little Haiti Cultural Center. And Anita Macbeth, who is the magnet coordinator at Bethune Elementary, does the dance piece of that. And they're just absolutely wonderful. I encourage everybody, take your kids, go to it. You'll have a wonderful time.
We'll see if we can find the details of that and get it up on the Real Tracy Fields Facebook page so people will know where to take their kids for drumming in Little Haiti. That does sound like fun.
I know what my train of thought that I lost
Okay.
was. I would love to see you, since you live in Broward County, see if we could get some sort of a little grant for you, go to Boys and Girls Clubs and just expose kids to this music. Because the one thing I say to the students at Dillard, it's amazing how great they're playing, but we have to all be looking at how to build audiences. And I think that's one thing that Wynton Marsalis just is doing a fabulous job with. But we all need to be doing that. And Norman Simmons, who was one of my teachers years ago, gets on a bandwagon about dance, dance, dance. And we have a great group here, the South Florida Lindy Collective. They're out dancing. The music began as dance music. I'm just fresh back from New Orleans last weekend. Everybody's dancing in New Orleans. All the young people are dancing. So
I was just thinking of the children in the Boys and Girls Clubs being frightened by me, but...
Oh, please. They would love you.
But you're right. We always need audience, I am confident that this music will never die, and I want to thank you for what you are doing to bring along another generation of smart people to enjoy this music by smart people.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me down here.
It is my pleasure, and what we need to do now is you need to tell me which one of these Stephen Scott tunes we're going to play.
Oh, I didn't say the
yeah.
connection with Stephen.
Okay, well, good. If you have you figured out which tune it's going to be? Because I'm going to need you to talk for a few seconds while I get it
Have
ready
you
to
got
roll.
Just Friends?
That's the one we are missing.
Uh-oh. So it's from this album.
Yes, it's the mystery album. So I will tell our friends that what happened was I was all set to play Just Friends from the Stephen Scott album.
This is perfect.
Oh, I like perfect.
I can't believe it. I was thinking when I was in New Orleans that we end with When the Saints Go Marching In for the students to go out, because I love having that second line feeling where they get to dance their way out of the presentation. And I was thinking in New Orleans that we should add to that this little light of mine. And I haven't heard Stephen do this, but it is number 7 on there.
Okay, I'll find that while you tell our friends about your connection with Stephen Scott.
I will. I heard Stephen playing and just went outside about 4 years ago and said to him on the break, I want to study with you. And I think he was a little taken aback. He said, I don't have any students. I'd have to think about that. And then he started asking me a couple of questions. He said, who are you listening to? And I said, I'm listening to Hampton Hawes right now and Sonny Clark. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, give me your number. So meanwhile, I didn't hear from him for like 3 years. And I was in New Orleans at the New Orleans Trad Jazz Camp, and I got a call from him, and he said, are you still interested? And I said, you bet. So I have been blessed to study with him for the last year. And also I took him down to hear the Dillard students and asked Chris if it was okay if the rhythm section came up to my house to work with him. So they came up and they went crazy over getting to work with him and went back to Chris Dorsey and said, oh, that was amazing. So Chris got him in there. So he was in working with the students for the end of the year and then for the summer camp. And now I've heard the word is that Jason Hainsworth has got him coming as artist in residence for the students at Broward County. So we are indeed blessed with a great deal of talent down here.
Yes, indeed. More all the time, and you guys keep bringing it along in addition to the cats who come in, as Stephen Scott did. Mari Mennel Bell, a student in addition to an educator. She
Always.
Is, yeah.
Forever.
That's how it's done. She is the force behind JazzSLAM. That's Jazz Supports Language, Arts, and Math. You can find them on the web at jazzslam.com or on Facebook. Do you just look for JazzSLAM? Okay. There's a link to the website on the Real Tracy Fields Facebook page, but of course you can find JazzSLAM on Facebook all by yourself. And in the meantime, let's see. This is number 7, This Little Light?
Yes.
Okay. Anything I haven't asked you, Mari Mennel Bell, as we finish up here?
I'll think of it tomorrow.
All right, well, when you do, just put it up on the Real Tracy Fields Facebook page. Mari Mennel Bell has been my guest. JazzSLAM is available to help out 4th and 5th grade students in person in Broward County and through e-learning in the entire known universe. You can get in touch with her through Facebook or through jazzslam.com. Mari, thank you so much for taking the time to come down tonight.
Oh, such a pleasure, Tracy.
Happy school year.
Thank you.
Stephen Scott there with This Little Light of Mine. That comes from an album of his entitled The Beautiful Thing, Stephen Scott, that one from back in the day. Stephen Scott plays the piano. He was supported there by Jesse Davis on alto. Russell Malone was the guitarist. That was Dwayne Burno on bass, and the drummer was Victor Lewis. That one a choice of Mari Mennel Bell of JazzSLAM, who was my guest tonight on this Monday, Miami Monday, back-to-school edition of Evening Jazz. Who ever heard of such a thing, right? But that's what it was. Thanks for listening.